did you get everybody's names so you could tell me everybody's names at your table?
Yes.
Okay, because we've been around with each other for a long time, but sometimes there's like that kid that's at the other end of the room that you don't know. So hopefully we're getting you mixed up enough so you're meeting new people. If there are new people yet to meet for you. All right. What is migration? Jack, what did you guys say? What is migration?
She said when an organism moves from one place to another.
Okay. So, question for you, Jack, and this is, I'm not saying your answer's right or wrong. I'm asking about your delivery of that statement. She said, blah, blah. Is it because you don't agree with her or because you wanted to give her credit for it?
Yeah, give her credit.
Okay, fair enough. That's awesome. Okay, so, I'm just asking because I think it's an important clarification, right? We want to make sure we're giving credit where credit is due. You can also claim that because it is your group conversation, though. Yep. An organism moves from one place to another. Is that kind of what everybody said, or were there other things that you added into your definition that you'd like to share? Does that kind of match? Jacob, what are you saying? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I just wanted to know. It sounds like you wanted to share something, no? Elena?
Well, I said new areas from like one area to another because that could just be like moving from one room to another.
So like a bigger area, like location to location as opposed, I mean, one could parse out like this location is different from this location, but that's what you're saying. So like from one climate to another? Does it have to be a climate? Or like a region maybe? I'm just throwing some other ideas out there. Okay? I heard somebody, I don't even remember who it was, I heard some talk about whether or not migration has to be permanent. Who was talking about that? Was it you guys talking about that? And was it you that posed that question, Lauren? Or was it,
No.
what did you come up with?
It was me.
That's okay. Your group was talking about it. Can you tell us a little bit about the conversation?
So I just said going away from home.
Okay.
Like moving away from the home, and then I don't know, one of us asked temporary or yeah.
Temporary or permanently? What do you guys think?
Temporary.
Could be either. Yeah, I think when we get over here, yeah. So should we do part C? Maybe that'll tell us. Why don't you talk really quickly? So the question is temporary or permanent? Discuss part C with your tables. Go quick. What kinds of organisms migrate? Permanent and ant. Is it ENT or ANT? Permanent. I think I'm gonna go with it. Nobody's gonna yell at me, right?
No, it's an A.
Is it an A? Okay.
Yeah.
Permanent.
That doesn't
No, the I.
Permanent.
Okay, we're
Liz is like my spelling whiz. That's why
I think it's an A and not an I, and then it's an
A-E-N-T. Cool.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate you. Level 3 speller right here. Woo. All right. Level 3? It's all right. So yes is the answer. Yes. Just no I. All right. Hannah, what did you guys come up with? What was one example of something that you said migrates? What'd you say? Fish. Absolutely they do. We talked about that. Some people were talking about that when we were talking about hydroelectric power, right? Or the bad things about it, right? Do you guys know how fish do that? Like, why do they do that?
Because in the south, the water's
Yeah. They swim upstream to like lay their eggs, right? And then they find food. I don't know. Probably depends on the river. But yes, absolutely. Fish do migrate. Go.
humans.
Humans migrate? Tell me about that.
So, well, when you hear the term, it's like, I don't really know how to say this, but
Okay.
like
Give it a shot.
the Mexicans that are trying to come like past the border, that's migrating.
Okay.
We call them migrants.
Okay. Yep. So we talk about people that are like fleeing something maybe, and maybe that's what we're going to We're gonna go over here, right? So that could be one. So you've got migrants. Are there other reasons that humans? I mean, we're kind of mixing all these questions together, but other reasons that humans migrate?
So when people buy houses down in Florida and if you're down there for the winter.
Oh, so that's kind of this like temporary migration, right? Yeah, you can see that with like older demographics of people that migrate for the winter, right? So yeah. Whether like they call them what, snowbirds or something like that. Oh, I'm sorry. What, did I steal your thing? Oh, that's another one. Yeah. So we're kind of doing what causes too, but I love it. Keep going. So natural disasters. And that can be, so honestly, friends, we're kind of answering B and C together. So these are the kinds of organisms. So humans are migrating. They're migrating, this migrant population, right? When you think about all of these people, and there's this humanitarian crisis that's going on at the border of Mexico and the U.S., right? What's causing all of those people to migrate? Yeah, absolutely. There's politics. Absolutely. Is this what you guys talk about? Yeah. I'd be like, that's physics right there. Go.
There's also economical and environmental factors.
Mm-hmm. She thinks I'm going to grade her for or human geo. I'm not, though. Economic factors. And what was the other one? Yep, we've got natural disasters up there, too. Yep. Did you guys want to say something?
No.
Are you sure?
I think he's very sure positive.
I kind of thought she did.
Actually, I'll say one of the things that migrate.
Yes, go for it.
Like butterflies.
Butterflies, absolutely. Are they stealing all of your stuff? Oh, Jacob, I'm sorry. Yes, butterflies absolutely do migrate. Yeah. Now they're suffering right now, but has anybody ever seen the monarch migration? Like through the southern. It's amazing. But like the actual that leads to it. The migration is like watching all of these butterflies. Right? Like swarms of them. Oh, amazing, yeah, right?
Great.
Just you gotta know where to look. Absolutely. All right. Friends, come back, please. I'm gonna go here and then I'll be right back with you. Yeah.
Birds migrate.
Birds do migrate, yeah. What were you gonna say, Liz? Oh, you were gonna say birds too? I should have had you say it right at the same time. 1, 2, 3, birds. What?
Sea turtles.
Sea turtles migrate. Nice. There are a lot of organisms that migrate. Now, thinking about the sea turtles, birds, butterflies, fish, are those migrations permanent or are they temporary? Temporary. They're kind of cyclical, aren't they? Like kind of with the seasons? Yeah. Did you know that a lot of these animals, going way back to things we've talked about a long time ago, actually use the magnetic field of the Earth to find their way? So scientists are afraid that, we talked about how the poles flip. And when the North and South poles flip, there are a lot of scientists are worried that these animals are going to have a hard time figuring out where they're going because they follow the magnetic field lines, which is kind of interesting. So these are mostly temporary. The fish, butterflies, birds, sea turtles, and jellyfish. I mean, there are tons, right? The weather-related human movement is fairly temporary. Often for natural disasters, they'll move back. That's true. When you're talking about, friends, I need to have our conversation be one, please. Okay? When we're talking about things like political factors, sometimes for natural disasters, but not always, economic, environmental factors, sometimes those can be permanent as well, right? Absolutely. One other question. All of the things that you've picked are animals. Did you catch that? Are there other kinds of organisms that migrate? No, butterflies.
Wait, is that right?
Those are still animals. Like they're still.
I said birds. I said bacteria.
No.
You said bacteria? No. This
Okay,
table,
I said it
This
first.
table.
this table
Yes.
came up with the idea of bacteria. Do you have an example of that, or do you just kind of have heard about it? Go.
So like if somebody has, like everybody has
Friends.
bacteria.
Oh, the cold
Go.
flu.
So everybody has bacteria on them. That's just
And in them, right? Yeah,
in
for
them.
sure. Mhm.
If okay, so like she said, like a flu, yeah, the bacteria go to different people's bodies, and that's migration.
That is migration, absolutely. So yeah. So that's the thing I wanted to point out, right? Like, so you've got things like bacteria, you've got viruses, and viruses aren't actually alive. They're just like, like this. But bacteria do move. Do plants move? I was going to ask.
Wait. She said a good one. Wait,
Hold on. Let's do one thing at a time. I'm really excited for your really good one. So hold on to it. But, friends, I need it to be like one conversation. So, plants migrate?
Yeah.
Beth, how you doing over there? What's going on?
Okay, so when plants, well, some plants and bacteria feel like human move because some people will bring plants with them when they migrate, and so then they're moving the plants, and then the bacteria is spreading to the humans. And,
Is it always humans?
no.
Mm-mm. No.
There's the
Wind, right? Absolutely. So weather can cause it. Also by other animals, right? Like I think about, those little sticky things that get stuck on your pants and on your shoes in the summer, the little sticker things that are really annoying. But really, do you know what's inside the little sticker? It's a seed, right? And so as you walk, if you walk a long way, that's going to fall off, right? Some of them do, though. Yep. By animals. Okay. You had one more.
She had a really good one. I said lice.
For sure. They're nasty. As a parent of a small child, super gross, right? For sure. And not just lice, but all those bugs, right? Yeah. There are lots of bugs that will migrate as well. So the reason that I brought this up to you, it migrates from one end to another. It's gross. I'm not saying it's not. Right? Just makes you feel a little itchy. Yeah. I get it. All right. We doing okay? We are going to talk today because, again, I've said this 100 million times. We are pretty us-centric, human-centric. We're going to talk about humans, and not only are we talking about humans, we're going to talk about, the people that live around our area. So send somebody up from your table. Let's say the youngest person from your table. Come get one of these drinks person.
When's your birthday?
Oh, I know this. Yeah, come on. No.
Quick, friends.
No, I'm good. We're not.
All right. So we are going to use this. We're going to use this for the next couple of days to work ourselves through migration.
Okay, I have a question.
Can I finish my sentence?
This looks like a parakeet.
Right, because it's all interconnected. That's the beauty of all of this, you guys. The more that I teach this class, and the more that I hear from you guys, we just should do this all cross-curricularly, right? It totally is American Studies stuff. It totally is human geography stuff. This is all the same ideas. We're just looking at it from a science perspective. But it's the same content. It's the same ideas, which means that it should be pretty darn easy for you. So no complaints, no excuses, right? All right. we're going to start. I've got this. I'm not usually a PowerPoint person, but we're going to try this out PowerPoint-wise. We'll see how this goes. All right? I know. I mean, I don't feel strongly, but it kind of walks us through to get us some stuff. Friends, I really need to ask you to stop the chitter-chatter. Please and thank you. Before we get too far, the sheet says, who were the first Americans? When did they get here? And where did they come from? You may have background to tell me these things that you've heard from other classes, but we're going to look at it again, like I said, from a scientific perspective. Okay? Did you guys need something?
I just forgot to grab the one.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
It's all right. These things happen.
Come on.
A lot of our migration to the United States, or not the United States, but to North America and South America, to the Americas, humans did not originate here. That's what we understand. And we understand that most humans or paleo-humans came from other places around the time of the last ice age. So first of all, we need to define an ice age. We've talked about this a bunch of times. We've talked about ice ages from a climate perspective a lot. But right here, we need to say, what is an ice age? An ice age is, as you know, because we've done this a bunch, a period of long-term cooling in the temperature of the Earth's surface and atmosphere that result in the expansion of Earth's ice sheets and glaciers. That should be a capital E right there, I think. You do not have to write this word for word, but I want you to get that idea onto your paper. We've talked about ice ages a number of times. We've talked about climate and how climate is so cyclical. We've talked about how we can measure the what in the atmosphere to help us indicate where or when there's been an ice age. What did we look at in the atmosphere? Do you remember? The carbon dioxide, the CO2 in the atmosphere? Yeah. So now I've got another graph because, I love graphs, if you haven't noticed. I don't want you to worry about all that stuff on the left. It's a little overwhelming and I don't say scary, but intense, it seems to me. I'll just tell you what I know. And the stuff I know comes from looking at the graph itself. What are we measuring on the x-axis? Thousands of years. We're talking about time, right? Okay. And then up the y-axis here, we're talking about temperature in Celsius, and this is ice volume, it looks like. So all three of these sets of data follow pretty much exactly the same pattern. Would you agree? Okay. Given this data, I want you to look or to work with your table to determine the answer to question 2. Question 2 being, when was the last ice age on Earth? When was the extreme of the last ice age on Earth? People would argue we're still in an ice age, but take a look at this. How can you figure out when the last ice age, like the peak of it, happened? Take a look.
It's low. Twice the low higher. So it would be like.
That's very
So there are 3 different graphs with 3 different sets of data here, right? The first 2 are temperature graphs over the last 450,000 years. The bottom one is ice volume, so the amount of ice that was present in this particular place in Antarctica. These are good ACT skills here, friends. It's good stuff. Right, Gracie?
What?
Gracie, did you guys come up with an answer?
That's what the ice.
I'm totally gonna pick on you. I'm just warning you now. All right, we're gonna walk through this. Does anybody have a prediction? Liz, what's your prediction?
25,000 years ago.
25,000 years ago. Where did you come up with that?
It's like the low point on the graph on the bottom one.
Okay, so 25. So we're talking over here. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So you're saying like right over here-ish?
Like the low point.
You're talking about this?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to people? Why would you pick the low point?
I think it's like the high ice. Maybe? I don't know. I'm kind of confused.
No, you're not wrong. But I just want to get into your brain because there were a number of people out here that are like, oh, and you've got it. So I want you to talk to me more. You've got it.
Because it's like the lowest point, which means there's more ice. So it'd be like the last ice age.
The
Like the most
lowest
recent one.
point, because if we look over here on the y-axis for the red one, that's what you're talking about, right? It's got the highest amount of ice volume. Let's say the ice volume thing doesn't make sense to us. We can look up here in the green, right? And the green one, this is just all based on temperature. If we're talking about ice age, are we talking about cold or hot, friends? Cold, right? We're not going to get all worked up with all of these little jagged blah, 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 blah. That part doesn't matter. When you're approaching a nasty, scary looking graph, like this one, you have to focus on what the question asks, right? When was the last ice age? Ice age means cold. You just told me that. Most recent, that means we're going to look way over here because 0 is thousands of years ago, right? That's like now. So we're looking at this point, which kind of lines up with this, lines up with this, yeah? Okay? That's the spot we're looking at. Looking at this, it's kind of hard to eyeball. I'm going to say that's about 25,000 years ago, right? So I'm going to push it a little bit more recent than that. Maybe like, I don't know, 15-ish. Does that sound okay? Kind of, it's like a little, that's 20, yeah, I'm going to say like 15-ish thousand years ago. Okay? So you might want to just let's write it down. When was the last ice age on Earth? I'm going to say like 15,000, maybe a little less than that. It's hard to tell since it's not really, well, and this one kind of goes over further, I suppose. So maybe even like 10 or 12,000 years ago, something like that was where it was like really cold. Yeah. We okay? Got an answer written down? Might want to make a note that you looked at a temperature graph and that temperature graph got really cold at that point. You know I love graphs. You know that graphs show up all the time. So I want to make sure that you understand how to read them. All right. Oh, there's a map. It says, what do you think the path was of the earliest humans to North America? How do you think they got to North America? Any ideas?
It's like a land bridge.
A land bridge or something. Like they built a bridge. It was like a nice big arch bridge that just collapsed. Yeah. Wasn't it an ice bridge? So like they got their like snowshoes out and they were walking on the ice. I mean, maybe. Yeah.
Well, no, but after it's called when all the continents were like pushed together.
Pangea, that was low.
But when they were like first starting to like split away, some of them still stayed connected, and so they crossed over there.
But there weren't humans then.
Oh.
We're talking like bacteria and like dinosaurs. Then we're talking like this. We're talking here. Remember, because and that's one of the things. That's one of the things that I love about this class, friends, is remembering our relative scales of things, right? Okay?
Wait.
Paleo-humans, like early humans, we're talking like 25,000 years ago. We're not talking all the way back in time. When Pangea was like forever ago. That's a good idea. And that one, we did talk about some of the organisms, right? Some of those animals that we saw skeletons in both places. But when we actually start talking about humans, that's not how the humans got here. Yeah.
Maybe it's like one glacier.
Whee! Yeah, like you've been watching Ice Age a lot, right? With the little like animals.
Yeah.
Let's think about migration for a minute. Question. Was it just 2 or 3 people? No, you can't get a whole civilization from 2 or 3 people. Okay? I mean, we all understand how human reproduction works. Okay? And it takes time. And it takes genetic diversity in order to have a successful civilization. So it's got to be a bunch of people. That means men and women and children, and they are all strong, and they are all able to move. But are they just going to get to go down a big icy slide into North America? Not gonna work, friends. I don't know if you ever read about like pioneer days, like Laura Ingalls Wilder. If you ever read any of those stories, if you did, that was a great migration westward. Do you remember this? Yeah, they moved west. This is like way, or like later in time. But when there was no ice covering anything, it was really, really hard. And that's when they had wagons and they had animals that they had domesticated. You with me there? Okay? It was hard even then. So imagine what it would have been like way back in the day. I feel like I saw a hand that wanted to be talked to. Jacob, was it you?
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, wasn't like the whole sea kind of ice so we could walk across it?
Wasn't the whole sea just
Earlier.
ice? I mean, maybe, right? So what happened with the sea, with the ice volumes here? What does this mean? Where was a lot of the water, friends?
Ice
Where was the ice, though?
on the top.
All over?
On top.
Oops. Hold on. Go back. There we go. All of the ice was in glaciers, right? All of the ice was in glaciers. Big, huge ice sheets. But if there's because the amount of water on Earth is always the same, right? If there's tons and tons and tons of water that is frozen in ice sheets that covers all of this, what does that mean about the sea levels?
It's low.
The sea levels have gone which way? Down. It's the opposite of what we're afraid is going to happen soon, right? You with me? Where the ice caps are going to melt and the sea levels are going to rise. We're going to say, bye-bye, Miami. Remember we talked about that? This is the opposite of that. We have all this frozen ice, which means the sea levels go down. And what do you notice between Russia and Alaska? It's just plain old land. It's not icy land because there's not a glacier there. There's not an ice sheet there, but it's just land. So we think that they came across that way. We're talking about a lot more later. But right now I want you to write this down where it says question 1, during the last glacial ice age, why do you think so much of the shoreline was exposed? I just said it to you, but I want you to write it down. I want you to process it because we're going to come back to that tomorrow. First thing, okay?
Yeah. Well, would you repeat that real quick?
That you should answer question 2?
No.
What do you want me to repeat?
No, I just feel like what you said.
Yeah, tell me. You guys tell me what I said. What did I say?
Wait.
The sea levels were very, very, very low because why? Because lots and lots of ice was kind of captive in these ice sheets. The amount of water on Earth doesn't ever change, friends. But the amount that's liquid at any given point does change. Remember, your Strengths Finder is due tomorrow. Remember that if you haven't finished your team evaluations, those need to get done today as well.
Wait, do you have to do it on yourself?
Everybody, you and each of your partners. Yes. Yes, you need to evaluate yourself and every other person. Have a fantastic Tuesday, friends. We'll see you tomorrow.